Welcome, my beautiful treasures out there. Welcome back, I should better say, to Little Did I Know. So I just warmed up in episode 1. Now in episode 2, shit is going to be wild as fuck. So make sure you grab your popcorn because you will need it. This is the first little story from my spiritual journey and how it all started in the outside world. After a few years, I realized this stuff could literally be a book or a movie. So here we are, finally cracking open Pandora's box together in one epic spiritual flashback. Ready, action, take 1. So we are in 2018. Little old me. I just gotten out of an unhappy relationship and knew it was time to leave the now way too big, way too empty apartment that I definitely couldn't afford on my own at this time. Though I did try for a while to find a roommate at first, which hilariously and ironically enough led to my very first chat with my future twin flame. Yes, I know. Shh, hold on. That whole thing became its own chaotic chapter, but we'll get there another time. Anyway, I was hunting for a new place, and since my psychic abilities were, let's say, already pretty switched on by then, I at least knew that wherever I landed first wasn't gonna be long term. Though I had absolutely no clue just how short it would actually be. Which, as it turned out, kinda became my moving theme for a while. But also not without reason. So I intuitively stumbled onto some Facebook groups where I quickly found my first landing pad. A nice couple in their mid-40s, spiritually open. A description I would now examine way more carefully. But nevertheless, let's continue with a big house out in the countryside and a little private mini hotel thing going on, where I would get my own room in the main house in exchange for helping out a bit. I mean, yes, hello, perfect first landing pad. Easy, rural, and spiritually open-minded. What I want more. My first thought. And what should I say? Everything moved fast, and practically the second I said yes, I was already there with a whole moving truck full of my stuff. Now, the moment I arrived, greeted maybe a little too warmly by the woman, I was already noticing, I would now call it, some rather suspicious little details. But bear with me. For example, I only got a key to actually lock my room after I asked for one. The super friendly woman kept dropping these weirdly dominant little comments and seemed to want an unusual amount of alone time with me. She started to gifting me clothes and then examining how they looked on me with increasing amounts of touching. Like I was her new favorite chihuahua with some kind of magical sparkle, of course. Now, the fact that I was basically being prepped like a Thanksgiving turkey only became clear much, much later. But let's keep going on the third night. And hold on, we all know after the third time, something happens, shit tends to get wild. So we were sitting together at dinner, which I would learn by then was, let's say, expected, rather than just nice to do. But hey, who's gonna be picky about wording, right? So I'm just innocently eating my food. And eventually the husband finishes and leaves the table. And that's when she starts casually dropping, well, her actual intentions for why they'd been looking for someone. All wrapped up with a pretty little bow, but still absolutely unhinged. She mentions she's also attracted to women. Which, just to clarify, I'm team woman too. So that part wasn't the shocker, believe me. She continued that she and her husband were hoping for a second shared partner. Like a love playmate, but as a permanent third member of the family. At this point, I generally would have preferred to be the Chihuahua. And because that wasn't enough of a curveball, she also casually mentions they are into SM and they are already planning, so there are already plans for a fetish dungeon in the basement, which we could totally design together. Yeah, so what can I say, folks? I cannot make this shit up. And back in my very pronounced people-pleasing era, I, of course, stayed completely chill, smiled sweetly, nodded along understandingly, while internally I was scrambling to find the right, but naturally pretty decorated boundary markers. But since my collection of appropriate and absolutely necessary boundaries wasn't exactly well stocked back then, we ended up on the couch shortly after, where she's pouring out her deepest traumas and desires. And I'm literally watching her mentally circle me as the chosen turkey with a flaming heart around it. Well, her wildly surging, insanely fast developing feelings did not go unnoticed by the husband, who pretty quickly caught on that she was no longer flying toward the original destination with him, wasn't even in the same plane anymore. But that his beloved wife's travel plans had spontaneously rerouted towards the very feminine island of Lesbos. And trust me, I really wish we were talking about the actual Greek island here. So, while I was frantically trying to figure out my exit strategy, Because obviously I didn't want to stick around and watch this marriage implode in real time. Hell no. No, 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 no. But the husband had already started beating his slightly bruised masculine chest and summoned his wife for a serious make or break talk, which she then tearfully confessed to me shortly after. And since she obviously wasn't ready to abandon the safety of her marriage, I was suddenly free from having to awkwardly initiate my own departure. I got asked to leave faster than I could blink, courtesy of full-blown male existential anxiety, complete with paid travel costs to literally anywhere as long as it was far, far away. This is still hilarious to think back. So, what do we learn from a story like this? Sure, you might think the lesson is something like read the fine print better. And of course, this is a good one, but I mean that on a spiritual level. So let me put this way. This was just the beginning. Admittedly, a pretty memorable one of my journey toward all the deeper realizations about myself and the little learning notes the universe had stashed under the mattress for my future self. But let's get a little bit serious. When you start your spiritual journey towards your true self and everything that's actually inside you, it's gonna take you to the wildest corners of experience. You will meet people who reflect back angles of yourself through the most bizarre mirrors. Things you're good at but haven't discovered yet. Things you trigger in other people that you've never consciously noticed. Things that push you to your absolute limits, specifically to bring those hidden parts to the surface. Yes, the light and the shadow of your essence. Contrast so you can learn to tell the difference. And all of it wrapped up in encounters with people who feel way too coincidental, and of course, they are not. And this is where I started seeing what I carry as a soul, what I would now call my trigger marker, how it activates, and with which people it especially goes off. And even though I didn't understand much of it back then, and I was already on my way to my next bizarre living situation and experience, I had this deep feeling that I was pressing buttons in people just by being around. Buttons that hadn't been pressed or even looked at in a long time. But stay tuned, because you're about to find out just how much that feeling got confirmed at my next stop, and how explosive some of those buttons can unexpectedly be. And because all that experience has taught me very much and very well about my precious energy, this is now a service of mine. Yes, you got smarty pants on your spiritual journey. That's what I can guarantee you. My treasure, like I always say, Nothing happens without a reason. So if you want my sparkling energy 1-to-1, I have a few special offerings, so make sure to check out the link in the description. And now, I'll leave it like that. We hear us when we hear us in the next episode of Little Did I Know.